A very good afternoon to each and everyone. My name is Shahwar and I'm a research scholar of United University, Prayagraj. I'm here for a presentation of my paper, and let me tell you the topic of my presentation first. That is tax evasion and alleviating measures in GST regime in India. So, at first, I would like to talk about what is the motivation behind selection of this topic. A data given by a finance ministry that shows the gross collection of GST have risen 28%. It is the second highest level revenue since July 2017. So we can easily analyze from this data that the GST collection, or you can say that the indirect tax collection, has risen. Before proceeding further, I would like to tell you something about previous tax regime. In previous tax system, the administration of tax compliance was costly and complex. The complexity was there due to the multiplicity of taxation. This complexity and loopholes in regulatory framework utilizes by taxpayers as a tool for the evasion of taxation. And this was also a main reason for the implementation of GST. With the help of the implementation of GST, the government wants to curb the tax evasion activities from the economy. But after the GST implementation, various tax evasion activities were recorded. There were various strategies through which the tax evasion still exists in the economy. So I was very curious to know that as GST was implemented to curb the tax evasion, it is one of the objective of the implementation of GST, that to curb the tax evasion from the economy. So I was very curious to know what is the impact of GST on tax evasion activities now. So this was the main motivation behind the selection of this topic. And let me tell you the objective. I have focused on 3 objectives in this paper. First, I would like to know what are the strategies adopted by the taxpayer in GST regime. Second, what are the loopholes exist in the GST regulatory framework which is very much helpful for the taxpayer for the tax evasion. And I was also concentrating to know the ways through which one can discourage the tax evasion. And lastly, the objective was to know the impact of GST on indirect tax collection. So with all these 3 objectives, let's proceed further and talk about the research methodology. This paper is an attempt of an exploratory research based on secondary data, and these data have been collected from research papers, government official websites, books, journals, magazines, previous articles, and so on. Here, I would like to emphasize that all the literature reviews have categorized in 3 categories, broad category, that is tax evasion strategies, GST Council steps, and court intervention. After analyzing all the literature reviews and all the data, I come across some of the main strategies which are used by the taxpayer for the tax evasion. As first strategy is to separate registration of single entity to evade tax. Next one is to quote wrong sales figure. Then forged invoices are used. Tax evasion is also done by evable, evasion through branded or non-branded goods, evasion through personal and business expenditure, evasion by the way of calculation of liability of GST, or even evasion through inadequate record keeping. These are the strategies which are very much helpful, which are proved to be very much helpful for the tax evasion for taxpayer who want to do tax evasion. Now, here I would like to highlight some point that Yes, there are some loopholes which are helpful for the taxpayer for tax evasion, but there are various uh, positive points about the GST I would like to mention, which is very much helpful for avoiding tax evasion, for curbing tax evasion from the economy. And I would like to point out three main things. First, there are some provisions which are dealing with the tax evasion, and they are very strict. So the strict provision which are dealing with the tax evasion, such as imprisonment, penalties, these are the strict provisions are very much helpful for avoiding tax evasion. Secondly, the government officials, or you can say that the tax authorities, are putting all the efforts to find out the wrong activities, and they are putting lot of rigorous effort to put those persons behind the bar and charge the penalties, which is scary for those who are doing wrong practices. So let me show you the provisions of imprisonment and penalties, which are very much helpful, which are proven very much helpful for curbing the tax evasion. Let's first talk about the imprisonment of offenses under GST. These are the terms of imprisonment and these are the amount. So if the amount of tax evasion is between 2 to 5 crore, then there is a provision of 3 years of imprisonment. Then if the tax evasion amount is more than 5 crore, then there is a provision of imprisonment of up to 5 years. So there is a strict imprisonment duration, which is very much helpful to scare those who are doing the wrong practices. Even if we talk about the penalties, there are strict or high amount of penalties, such as let's talk about the nature of offense. Penalty for opting for a composition scheme even though he is not eligible. A person who was not eligible, he has applied, he has opted for composition scheme, and there is a penalty for wrongfully charging GST rate, penalty for not issuing invoices, or penalty for not registering under GST. If there is a nature of offenses which I have already mentioned, so the quantum of penalty is 100% of tax due or INR 10,000, whichever is higher. Let's talk about some other nature of offense, such as penalty for incorrect invoicing, penalty for helping a person to commit fraud. If the nature of offense is of these kind, then the quantum of penalty is up to INR 25,000. So you can see that the imprisonment and penalties rules and regulations are very strict to scare those who are doing the wrong practices. Now, I have collected some data from the GST Council websites and GST websites, and if we see the data clearly or consciously, we can find out that the data is given that in 2017 and 18, what was the GST collection? It is month-wise. And what is the GST collection in 2018 and 19, 1920, 2021, 21-22, 22-23? So these are the financial years, and it shows the GST collection data year by year. And after analyzing all these data, you can very clearly see that in 2022 and 23 financial year, the GST collection is higher than in any previous year's GST collection. I have a report of GST Council which very clearly stated that the GST Council concluded that anti-evasion steps taken by the government and detection of fake bills and strict actions are the main reason of the increasement of GST collection. the gross cess collection in the month of September is the highest since introduction of GST. So this is a report given by the GST Council. Now, if we talk about the trends, there is another data collected from the GST website, and as you can see in the data, the blue bar shows the GST collection in financial year 21-22, and the yellow bar shows the GST collection in financial year 2022 and 23. And you can very clearly see that in every month the GST collection in the financial year 2022 and 2023 is higher than the previous financial year. So in all the data we can very easily find out that the GST collection is increasing month by month or year by year. I have also another report which is state-wise, and we can see the state-wise collection which has increased from previous year. In previous year, in the month of September 2021, and now in the September month of financial year 2022, there is a comparison of changes in percentage in the GST collection, and we can see that in West Bengal, the GST collection in comparison of previous year September 2021 and this year September 2022, 27% increasement is there in GST collection. If we talk about the Nagaland, the GST collection in comparison of previous year in the month of September, it is 61%. So there is a state-wise GST collection report. Now come to the conclusion. Tax is a major source of government revenue, and government pay very much attention on each and every activity that is related with tax. But the taxpayer, many taxpayers are try to make all the effort either to pay less tax or to avoid tax. There may be various reasons such as the complexity of the procedure, dissatisfaction with the percentage of tax, or usage of tax amount. Tax evasion activities affect the growth and the business environment negatively. It will affect the growth of the economy as well as the business environment negatively. In GST system, a vigorous effort is made by tax authorities to impose tax compliance, rapid growth of data and emerging reporting, invoice level reporting and comparison, integration of GST registration with PAN, reconciliation of credits, computer-based generation of e-way bills, etc. These are the alleviating measures which deals shunning or concealing or evasion of tax. Various data and reports are showing that there is an increase in the GST revenue. Monthly and yearly GST comparison is also showing upward trend. Even state-wise GST collection analysis is also marking positive movements. So we can say with all these data and government report that yes, GST is affecting the GST revenue, and we can very clearly see that the revenue of the GST revenue is increasing month by month and year by year, which is a very good sign and which shows the success of GST in this regard. For the development of nation, a standardized technological system was the requirement because it can be helpful to achieve the goal of accurate detection of tax evasion and make tax compliance simple for business and tax authorities, and GST has successfully fulfilled this need of this nation. That's it from my side. Thank you.